Soft, ambient hum, slow footsteps echo in an empty street. A faint wind whispers, closing parenthesis voice, dash over calm, reflective. They say every voice we hear comes from somewhere. But what if the one you hear isn't from around you? It's from within. A brief pause. The sound of a single heartbeat. What if someone unseen, unknown, called your name and asked, "Do you want to follow me?" Would you answer? Or would you pretend you didn't hear it? Fade into black. The title appears. Do you want to follow me? The chosen scene opens in darkness, distant thunder. A soft glow begins to rise. There's a strange kind of silence that feels heavy, like the world is holding its breath. That's where I was, standing still, breathing, but not really alive. The road ahead of me was empty, yet somehow it felt full of questions that had no answers. I remember the air, thick, quiet, almost sacred. The kind of quiet that makes you hear your own thoughts too loudly. The kind of quiet that reminds you of everything you've lost, everything you never tried to find. My feet touched the ground, but I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. It was just one step after another. Walking with no direction, not because I didn't want to move, but because I didn't know where to move. Life had become a circle of routines and regrets. Soft footsteps echo. A low hum builds, like wind moving through trees. And then, I heard it. At first, I thought it was the wind. A soft whisper, so gentle I almost ignored it. But it came again, clearer, closer, alive. Do you want to follow me? I froze. Every sound disappeared. Even my heartbeat seemed to stop. I turned around, but there was no one there. Just shadows. Just silence. I told myself it was my imagination. A trick of a tired mind. Maybe I'd gone too long without hope and my mind was trying to give me something to hold on to. But the voice? It didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. Slow zoom on the empty path. A faint golden light flickers in the distance. It wasn't a command. It wasn't loud. It was soft, patient, as if it knew I'd try to run from it. And yet, something deep inside me leaned toward that sound, as if it had been waiting for it all my life. I didn't answer. Not yet, because I wasn't sure what it was asking of me. Follow where? Follow who? And why me? Camera pans upward. The faint glow grows brighter, cutting through fog. Still, even as I walked away, I couldn't forget those words. They stayed with me, not like a memory, but like a mark. Do you want to follow me? It wasn't a question that needed to be answered with my mouth. It was one that demanded an answer from my soul. Scene fades to black. Wind fades out. A heartbeat returns, steady, stronger. Scene opens with faint wind sounds, a slow-motion shot of rippling water reflecting scattered light. The next day I tried to forget it. The whisper, the question, that strange calm that followed. But some things refuse to be forgotten. They cling to your thoughts like shadows in the sunlight. You try to walk away, but they follow. Quietly, patiently. A clock ticks faintly in the background. The camera pans across an empty hallway. A lone figure walking through soft light. Everywhere I went, it was there in the rhythm of my steps, in the silence between heartbeats. It was as if the world had learned to breathe in a new way, and I could feel it. The voice was not gone. It was waiting. That night I stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker like dying stars. And I heard it again. Not louder, just closer. Do you want to follow me? A pause. The lights outside begin to fade as if time slows. My hands trembled. There was something in that voice. Not command, not control, but something softer. Something that felt like truth. I didn't know who was speaking. I didn't know where it would lead. But deep down, I felt a pull like gravity, but inside the soul. It wasn't fear I felt. Not this time. It was recognition. As if I had heard that voice before, not with my ears, but with my heart. Maybe long ago, before the noise of life drowned it out. A faint melody begins. Warm, distant, almost like a memory. And for the first time, I whispered back, "Who are you?" No answer came. only silence. But in that silence, something stirred, something alive. I felt a warmth on my skin, though there was no sun. I saw the faint outline of a path, though there was no light. It wasn't a road made of stone or dirt, it was made of feeling. A direction that could only be seen by trust. Camera follows the silhouette, taking one hesitant step forward. Dust rises, illuminated by soft golden light. The voice didn't need to speak again. It had already been heard, and I knew from that moment that the call wasn't asking for my words. It was asking for my movement. It wasn't about leaving the world behind. It was about leaving behind the fear that had built its walls inside me. The sound of a single heartbeat grows louder, blending into the rising score. The light spreads softly across the screen, and then, for the first time in years, I took a step. Camera follows footsteps into the glowing mist. The voice echoes faintly once more. Do you want to follow me? I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But my soul had already begun to walk. Scene fades out. Music continues, slow, cinematic, fading into silence. Scene begins with slow breathing. The camera shows a dark sky, clouds swirling above an empty field. Wind rises softly. Every step I took forward felt like walking against the wind. It wasn't the kind of wind that pushes your body. It was the kind that whispers to your mind, turn back. And I almost did, because following something you can't see feels like falling with your eyes open. You hope there's ground somewhere beneath you, but you never really know. Thunder murmurs in the distance. A faint heartbeat echoes like a drum. The further I walked, the louder my thoughts became. They didn't speak in words, they screamed in doubt. What if it's nothing? What if it's all in your head? What if you've already lost your way? I looked around, the world hadn't changed. Same sky, same silence. But inside me, everything was shifting. It felt like something was trying to wake up, and something else was trying to pull me back to sleep. Flash of light, short, bright, as if lightning strikes in slow motion. The silhouette flinches. I remembered every mistake I ever made, every road I'd taken that led nowhere. They came rushing back like ghosts, whispering, "You've failed before. You'll fail again." And for a moment, I believed them, because it's easier to stay broken than to try healing again. It's safer to stay lost than to start searching. The music grows heavier, deeper. The figure kneels down, hands touching the earth. The ground beneath me felt cold. I whispered to myself, maybe I should stop. Maybe this voice isn't calling me forward. Maybe it's just the echo of my own longing. A pause. Everything goes still. Then faintly, the voice returns, barely a whisper. Do not be afraid. It wasn't loud. It didn't shake the sky, but it pierced through every thought that tried to chain me. 3 words, gentle as a breath, strong as a heartbeat. I closed my eyes, and I realized something. Fear was never the enemy. It was the doorway. Every doubt, every trembling step was a test, not to break me, but to reveal me. Camera shows the figure rising slowly, the wind softening. Light returning in faint glimmers. The path ahead was still unclear, but for the first time, I didn't need to see it. Because faith isn't about sight, it's about trust. And trust isn't born from knowing. It's born from choosing. A single tear drops. The reflection in a puddle shows a faint light behind the silhouette, brighter now. I took another step. Not because I was fearless, but because I was done letting fear be my guide. Soft, orchestral rise. The screen fades to white, then black. The whisper echoes one more time. Follow me. Scene begins in stillness. A soft golden light bleeds through thick fog. The sound of wind fades into distant birdsong, the first sound of life. I stopped walking. Not because I was lost this time, but because I couldn't run anymore. For too long, I tried to control the path, to understand every step before I took it. But control is a kind of cage, and faith doesn't live inside cages. Camera shows the silhouette standing at a cliff's edge. It's the horizon painted in soft dawn light. I looked down at my hands, tired, empty, trembling. They had spent years holding on to everything that was hurting me: regret, guilt, pride, the weight of my own expectations. And then I heard it again. Not loud, not demanding. Just a voice, calm, steady, asking once more, "Do you want to follow me?" The air grows still. The character exhales slowly, eyes closing. Music swells softly. I didn't have an answer ready. Because the truth was, I didn't know how to follow. All I knew was how to hide, how to run, how to survive without ever really living. But something inside me shifted. A quiet rebellion against the fear I'd carried for so long. And for the first time, I spoke with no plan, no certainty, just truth. I'm tired of being strong for the wrong reasons. Pause. A gentle breeze moves the fog aside, revealing a faint, glowing path ahead. It was then I understood surrender isn't giving up. It's giving in to something greater than yourself. It's the moment you stop trying to lead the way. And finally, let yourself be led. Camera focuses on the hands opening slowly, light spilling into the palms. I lifted my head and whispered, barely louder than a breath, "If you still want me to follow, then lead me." And the world changed. Not outside, inside. The noise in my mind grew quiet. The heaviness in my chest lifted. It felt like the first sunrise after years of night. The music swells, orchestral strings rising with emotion. The light brightens behind the silhouette, illuminating the path fully now. I didn't see a figure waiting. I didn't see a hand reaching out. But I felt something real, living close. Not a command, not a push, but a presence. And in that presence, I found peace. Not the kind that hides from pain, but the kind that walks through it and still chooses love. Camera shows the silhouette taking one final look behind the world in shadows, then turning toward the light. This wasn't about perfection. This wasn't about deserving anything. It was about choosing again and again to trust what I couldn't see. The voice whispers one last time, almost smiling, "Then take the first step." I did. And for the first time, the ground beneath my feet felt alive. Scene ends with light washing over the screen. Sound fades into quiet. Scene opens with gentle morning light breaking through clouds. The camera pans over a narrow path covered in dew. Soft, distant birdsong. The first step was small, almost invisible. But in that moment, something inside me shifted forever. The world hadn't changed, but I had. Colors looked softer, air felt lighter, and the silence that once scared me now felt like a friend. I realized, the journey doesn't begin when you see the way. It begins when you trust it's there. Camera follows slow, rhythmic footsteps along the misty path. Every step echoes softly. I didn't know where I was going, and maybe that was the point. For the first time, I wasn't chasing answers. I was walking with questions. Questions that didn't demand to be solved, only understood. A tree stands alone on a hill. The camera circles it as wind moves through its branches. Sometimes the path was bright, the air warm and gentle. Sometimes it was silent, cold, lonely, endless. But even in the stillness, I felt something guiding me. Not a voice now. More like a heartbeat that wasn't mine but still lived inside me. Soft instrumental hum, strings and piano intertwine. Warm and slow, I began to notice small things. The way sunlight touched broken stones. The way wind carried the sound of life through empty fields. The way pain, when faced, started to lose its power. Every scar began to look like a map. Every tear like a seed. And every moment, even the ones I didn't understand, started to feel necessary. Close-up of hands brushing against tall grass, fingertips glowing in light. The journey wasn't about distance anymore. It was about becoming someone who could walk without. Needing proof, I learned that following doesn't mean leaving everything. Behind it means carrying it differently. Lighter, softer, with grace instead of guilt. A slow shot of the figure walking through a forest, sunlight dripping through leaves. Dust floats in the light like golden rain. There were days I felt strong, like I was finally becoming who I was meant to be. And there were days I wanted to turn back. But the voice didn't rush me. It didn't demand anything from me. It only waited, like time itself had patience. And maybe that's what love really is. Not a shout, not a rule, but a quiet invitation that never expires. Camera tilts up to the sky, clouds part slightly, light breaking through. The road still stretched far beyond my sight. But I kept walking, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking alone. Music swells. The screen fades to a blend of gold and white. The faint whisper returns, peaceful and distant. Keep going. Scene opens in twilight, half light, half darkness. The silhouette stands at the edge of a quiet lake. The water ripples softly, reflecting the fading sky. I walked until I couldn't tell where the path ended and the sky began. The world had gone silent again, not empty, but sacred. There's a kind of silence that doesn't ask for words. It asks for listening, and that's when I heard it. Not the voice, not this time. Something else. Something deeper. It wasn't coming from above me or around me. It was coming from within me. The sound of a faint heartbeat fades in, calm, steady. The reflection in the lake trembles as light begins to shimmer across it. For so long, I thought I was chasing something, a call, a sign, a savior. But maybe it was never somewhere else. Maybe it had always been here, waiting for me to go quiet enough to hear it. Camera shows. Close-up of the reflection, the silhouette's face can't be seen. Only light where eyes should be. I looked at my reflection and saw no features. No identity, just light, bending and moving with the water. And I realized something so simple, it almost broke me. The voice I'd been hearing wasn't a stranger, it was the part of me that still believed. The part I buried under fear, under guilt, under noise. The voice wasn't leading me somewhere new, it was leading me back to myself. Soft music swells, strings blend with quiet piano. The figure kneels by the water, fingertips touching the glowing surface. I had spent years asking for signs from above, but the truth had always been living quietly inside me. I didn't need eyes to see. I just needed courage to look inward, and when I did, everything made sense. The darkness was never the enemy. It was the canvas where light could finally be seen. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of answers I'd never taken time to hear. The pain wasn't punishment. It was the breaking that made room for peace. The lake glows brighter, illuminating the path behind the silhouette. The wind shifts softly, carrying faint echoes of laughter. Memories, life. For the first time, I understood the voice completely. It didn't ask for perfection. It didn't demand belief. It simply asked, "Do you want to follow what's true?" The reflection ripples, and for a moment, the light forms a faint shape of wings across the water before fading. And I did. Not because I had proof, but because truth doesn't need to be seen to be known. It just needs to be felt deep enough that it changes the way you walk. The way you breathe, the way you are. Camera pulls back. The figure stands again, surrounded by soft light. The sky glows gold and violet. The water is still. That's when I stopped searching for signs. Because I realized I was the sign. Music swells higher, a blend of light and harmony. The wind carries the whisper one last time. You've always been following me. Because I've always been within you. Scene begins in soft morning light. The sky stretches endlessly above rolling hills. The silhouette stands at the top of a quiet ridge, wind brushing through tall grass. Everything is calm. I kept walking. Not because I was searching anymore, but because I had finally found peace in the journey itself. The road no longer frightened me. The fog no longer hid anything from me. I realized that what I once called lost was really just another word for becoming. Camera pans slowly behind the silhouette. The path ahead glows faintly golden, stretching toward the horizon. There's something beautiful about walking without needing to arrive. About breathing without rushing. About trusting the unseen rhythm that carries you forward step by step. Heartbeat by heartbeat. For so long, I thought following meant obedience. But now I understand it means alignment. It's not about chains. It's about connection. Not about surrendering who you are, but remembering who you were always meant to be. A warm breeze moves through the grass. The figure pauses and looks upward. The camera catches only light across the face, still faceless, still radiant. The voice no longer speaks in words now. It lives in moments, in the wind that brushes past me, in the stillness before dawn, the quiet knowing that I am no longer walking alone. I used to think faith was about reaching the end. Now I see it's about walking without fear, even when the end is nowhere in sight. Soft piano enters, gentle, nostalgic. The world brightens as sunlight floods the scene. Every person I meet carries their own silence, their own unanswered call. And sometimes, I wish they could hear it the way I did. Not through sound, but through stillness. Because once you hear it, you never truly unhear it. It changes the way you move through the world. Camera shifts, the figure walking forward, their shadow stretching long behind them. Birds begin to rise in slow motion, scattering toward the light. The path fades into brightness now. Not an ending, not a goodbye. Just light, endless, welcoming, alive. And as I walk into it, I hear the whisper one last time. Familiar, loving, eternal. Keep walking. Pause. The music swells and then quiets. The screen fades to white. Voiceover soft. Final. I never saw his face. But I saw everything through his light. And now, I understand the journey never ends. It just keeps unfolding. One step, one choice. One heartbeat at a time. Text appears on screen, slow, centered, fading in and out with ambient sound. Do you want to follow me? The light brightens until the screen turns completely white. Silence. Would you like me to craft a narration timing script next, breaking down each scene with exact visual,